Now, joining us on the program right now, very pleased to have with us Congressman Mike Kelly from Pennsylvania. Congressman, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm great, Cam. How are you?
Good. All right, with all of these scandals that you all are now suddenly having to keep track of on Capitol Hill, thank you for still paying attention to what's going on with the UN Arms Trade Treaty. And the State Department has announced, not necessarily a surprise, but they have announced that the United States will sign the UN Arms Trade Treaty, correct?
Yes, that's our understanding. And the Assistant Secretary of State, Thomas Countryman, is the one that made that announcement. I mean, this is, and I agree with you, Cam. You know what? It's very disturbing, but it's totally not unexpected from this administration. I think this is kind of the running footage that we have from these folks. It's very consistent behavior by them. You know, the rule of law and following the rule of law and following policy and procedure is something that this administration has very little use for, unless it's something that goes in their favor. I just think the American people are getting just fed up with it. You know, after a while, you know, the old saying is, you know, fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of us have come to realize the emperor has no clothes. We were told early on this would be the most clear and transparent administration ever. My goodness, nothing could be murkier than the Obama administration and the policies that we've seen come out of there, and really the turning the back on the Constitution. I am greatly disturbed, and I think most of the people in the United States now are starting to see this for what it is.
When you look at all of these issues that you know, some have been around for a while, some are fairly new to the public consciousness anyway. Representative, are you able to separate these out, or do you think that there are similar mindsets and perhaps even similar ideologies, or an attitude within this administration that allowed these scandals to take place?
I think, you know, probably all of the above. But I do think that when you look at this collection of people that are running the agencies and who the president continues to appoint, and in some cases goes ahead and they start a job without the approval of the Senate, again, end runs, and this is a president that has really very little use for the rule of law. I think we just see a culture, and I think this has been coming out the last couple of days, Cam. This is a culture that's out there. This isn't just a one or two happening thing. This is an agenda that has to be fulfilled. This is a blind ambition, I believe, on the part of this president, this administration. Come hell or high water, they're going to get what they want. And, you know, a little thing like the Constitution standing in the way, that doesn't bother them. And the will of the American people, that even has less importance to them. They totally turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the cries from the public as to what they want and what they think to be right and just. So as I said earlier, this is very disturbing, but not unexpected. And, you know, for a president, again, who really promised a very clear and transparent administration, we're seeing something that's terrible. You know, the big thing on this ATT thing, there was supposed to be an ongoing and comprehensive review of this treaty. And they said they'll still follow through with that, even though they're going to go ahead and sign it. So I just say, you know, say what you mean what you say. And I think the people now understand that integrity is not part of the lexicon that this administration uses.
Well, you know, when this administration says it's going to sign this arms trade treaty, it does not look right now that the numbers are there to ratify this treaty in the Senate. What kind of impact could simply signing this treaty have, Congressman?
Well, you know, we have a lot of treaties that have been signed by the president or his designee. That they call them zombie treaties. I've got to know more about these from working with Dr. Ted Broman out of Heritage. I think there's so little knowledge by the American people in general, and especially by legislators. Dr. Andy Harris from Maryland and I are working on some of these things together. It's appalling what we see go on, and we don't. Here's the problem with this. This leads to greater things down the road, and I think we look at this. This is just the tip of the iceberg. These things get on the books. They're out there. They have a life of their own. And as I said, they call them zombies. They're the walking dead. They're out there, haven't been ratified by the Senate, but they're out there, and it sends a very clear message to the world of what we're willing to do. Now, the problem with this treaty specifically, is it puts a heavy burden on those that do good, and it opens the way for those that do bad and wish to do bad in the future. It doesn't achieve what these folks are looking for, and they always use these terms that sound good. You know what, the international human rights law, or, you know, let's just do good for the sake of doing good. And I got to tell you, in my whole life, you better be very specific, and you better be very clear, and it better be spelled out to the letter of the law. Heck, my cell phone contract has more in it than some of these things. It's very specific what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. You know what, Kim? I hope our listeners are paying attention and are willing to go ahead and make their voices known. call your representatives, call your senators, call the President of the United States, and tell them how unhappy you are with this. These people work in very shadowy areas where you don't see them, and sometimes it's the light of day that they'll go scurrying off into the night. You won't see some of the things they're trying to bring down on us, but this has long-term implications on not just our arms trade, but also our constitutional rights.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Congressman, thank you again for being the watchdog that you are on this, and look forward to talking again very, very soon.
We're not going to stop fighting, Camp. This one is the one that there's no options on this. We have to keep going after them.
Appreciate your time, sir. Congressman Mike Kelly from Pennsylvania.